Do you ever use dating apps like Tinder or Hinge? What kind of people have you met on them? While I am sure they're nice, normal people to meet, in these stories, nice and normal are not what these unsuspecting daters got. In this video, we go over 5 dating app horror stories where finding the one has become the worst nightmare. Do you dare to swipe? So my friend Sarah, who's 21, is a senior at the University of Florida. She is majoring in art, loves college football, and meeting guys on the dating app Tinder. On a lonely, rainy Friday night, she was swiping through the app while watching the horror movie The Strangers when she matched up with Mike. Mike is 24, a college dropout, and works for his dad at his company called Catch 'em Kill 'em Pest Control. Sarah said that when she saw Mike's picture, she thought he was very attractive, had similar likes, and couldn't wait to start talking to him. They chatted for about an hour, and they seemed to have a lot in common. They laughed and shared stories of their high school days. Sarah was a loner with good grades, while Mike was a jock with not so good grades. Mike was charming and seemed like a genuine guy, so Sarah excitedly agreed to meet up with him for a date at a local coffee shop. It was 9 p.m., pretty late, so Sarah thought, to be safe, she would meet him at the coffee shop, not have him pick her up. Even though Mike seemed nice, you just never know. The date started off well. They had a pleasant conversation over coffee and pound cake, and Sarah felt a connection with Mike. Again, they laughed and reminisced about the old days, where they grew up and how different they were in high school. They knew they probably never would have dated back then. However, as the date progressed, things took a turn for the worse, and Sarah started to feel very uneasy with things Mike was saying. He started making odd comments about their future together, how long they would date before getting married, mentioning how many children he wanted, and where they should buy a house, all on their first date. Sarah was taken aback by his intensity, but tried to steer the conversation in a more casual direction. She tried to bring up college, work, hangouts, anything to get off the topic of their potential relationship. Things only got weirder from there. Mike began to speak in an overly rehearsed, robotic manner, as if he were reading from a script. He claimed that he had a photographic memory and started reciting random facts and trivia about various topics, seemingly unrelated to their conversation. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable and disappointed, Sarah decided to end the date politely by saying she was getting tired and needed to head home. However, Mike would not listen. He insisted on walking her to her car, talking about how he was destined to be with her, and even mentioned that he had researched her online before the date. This sent shivers down her spine. She was speechless. Like, why? Why would he research her? When they reached her car, Mike gave her a long, awkward hug and said, I know we're meant to be together, Sarah. I'll be waiting for your call. He then handed her a sealed envelope and walked away. Sarah hurriedly got into her car, feeling a mixture of relief and fear. When she opened the envelope, she found a detailed timeline of their hypothetical future together, complete with dates and milestones, along with a letter asking her to sign and return it, like it was some kind of contract. The entire experience left her feeling thoroughly creeped out. She called me the next day and told me about her experience. She felt disappointed since he seemed so nice, but knows she really dodged the bullet. You just never know who you're going to meet on these dating apps. Always meet in a public place, and I would say it's a good idea to not let someone know where you live right away. My friend told me this horrific story yesterday, and it has to be the scariest thing I ever heard, so I felt like sharing it to remind everyone to stay safe and cautious. This happened to a friend of our friend not too long ago. So this girl matched with a guy on Tinder and went on a couple of dates with him. In the first 2 dates, they went for coffee on walks outside. She really liked him, thought he was friendly, good looking, etc., and thought they clicked. For the third date, the guy suggested she should come over to his place to have some wine. She agreed because she felt safe and comfortable enough to do so at this point. So the time comes and she goes over to his place and he pours her a glass of wine. Things seem to go well, they joke around and enjoy a nice talk, and after a while, she starts to feel funny. Now, this girl had already been given some substances before, so she immediately recognized the effects once they kicked in. She was extremely clever in the situation and pretended she was feeling fine. She told him as cheerfully and energetically as possible that she had to use the bathroom. Something was off. Once she was in the bathroom, she locked the door and called the police. She told them that what she was given and was locked in the bathroom and that they needed to come get her out of there. Pretty soon after, she passes out. She's awakened by the police but is still very out of it and kind of slides in and out of consciousness. All she remembers is the police putting a bag over her head as they carry her out of there. She was saved. A few days later, she is asked to come down to the police station to give her declaration of events. After the interview, she asked if the police put a bag over her head or if it was imagined due to what she was given. They tell her yes, they did put a bag over her head because they decided it would have been too traumatizing for her to see as they carried her out of there what he had prepared and set up for her in the living room. And this sends shivers down my spine. The guy ended up in jail, and to this day she doesn't know what he had in mind for her, but it's clear this was a very messed up, scary situation that could have ended very horribly. So please always let someone know when you plan on going on a Tinder date. Even if you feel safe, even if it's not your first date, always ask a friend to call and check up on you during and after to let someone know you're safe. So Jane never anticipated that her journey into internet dating would lead her down a terrifying path. She made the decision to give it a shot after being single for some time. She downloaded a popular app and started perusing the profiles. One of them is a nice, attractive man named Jack, and he caught her eye. They began communicating and ultimately agreed to meet up in person. Jane agreed to Jack's idea to meet up at a 5-star hotel. Though she was eager to finally see him in person, she was unaware that the hotel had a checkered background. The hotel had once been a beautiful building, but it had deteriorated over time. It was rumored that a past owner's spirit, who had been driven insane by the loss of his wife, haunted the building. Nobody knew the whole story, but the guests and the staff had reported weird happenings. When Jane got to the hotel, it appeared to be even worse condition than she had thought. A musty odor and peeling wallpaper welcomed her. She nevertheless made the decision to give it a shot, anticipating a romantic weekend away. She couldn't get rid of the unsettling feeling that something wasn't quite right as she nestled into her room. Strange things started happening very quickly. The temperature fell, and she began to hear unusual noises. Someone was watching her, she thought. She dismissed it, assuming it was all in her head. However, she realized she was in serious trouble when she noticed a ghostly figure standing at the foot of her bed. The ghost was the former owner of the hotel, and it didn't look at all like she had anticipated. Its voice was filled with malice, its appearance was twisted and messy, and its eyes were full of rage and despair. It was obvious from the ghost's presence that it was not a friendly one. Jane exited her room quickly in an effort to locate Jack. He was unable to be found despite her searching the entire hotel. She came to the conclusion that she was catfished. Jack never existed, and that the hotel had only been a trap. The prior owner's ghost had been alluring guests to the hotel via the data app, and now she was trapped. She attempted to leave, but she was not successful because the doors were locked. She was confronted by the ghost, who revealed the details of his wife's murder, how he had become insane, and how he would use the dating app to capture unsuspecting individuals like her and keep them around for life. The ghost showed her the ghostly figures of the deceased guests who were trapped inside the hotel walls, forced to perpetually experience the horror of their final moments. Jane was horrified because she knew her fate. She had no chance of escaping the hotel where she was stuck with a madman ghost. She was destined to become just another victim in his cruel game. She knew that the ghost had made sure that no one would ever find her. He had purposely picked this hotel since it was far away and by itself, and no one nearby could hear her screaming. Jane started looking for anything that would help her escape. She searched for hidden doors, secret passages, and anything else that would lead to freedom. But every time she believed she had found a way out, the ghost's ominous presence would keep her from escaping. Jane could feel her heart racing in her chest as the ghost drew closer to her. She was certain that this was it. She was at her wit's end, and nobody knew where she was. She learned too late that using online dating could lead to disastrous outcomes, and that sometimes the dangers are hidden from plain sight. In her final moments, as the ghost stretched out his hand to take her, she had a vision of her loved ones, whom she knew she would never see again. She was lost to the outside world and imprisoned in the haunted hotel for all time when the ghost dragged her into the shadows. Even now, locals claim they can still hear the screams of the ghost victims coming from inside the crumbling, abandoned hotel. Kelly was eager to connect with new people and maybe find love when she initially downloaded the dating app. However, when she began to use it, she started to notice some odd things happening. It all started when she matched with Elvis. On paper, he appeared ideal, charming, attractive, and sharing similar interests. But as they started talking, Kelly started to sense that something wasn't quite right. Elvis frequently asked about her personal information, including her home and phone numbers, as well as her whereabouts and who she spent her time with. Kelly knew she should be wary, but she could not help but fall for Elvis's charm. When they made the decision to meet in person, he recommended meeting at her house. Although it appeared to be innocent enough, Kelly couldn't get rid of the feeling that something was not right. So Kelly made the decision to research Elvis in order to be prepared for their date. She thoroughly examined his social media accounts in search of any warning signs. She discovered something quite horrifying though when she went further. Elvis had been catfishing numerous ladies while posing as someone else. He had a history of criminal activity and had served prison time for assault. As panic set in, Kelly realized she needed to act quickly. She quickly called her friends and family and they rushed to her home. Together, they secured the windows and doors in anticipation of Elvis's arrival. They shut all the lights off, secured every window and entrance, and awaited his arrival with bated breath. He wasn't expecting Kelly and her family to be waiting for him when he got there. He reacted very badly when they confronted him with his lies and deceit. He started acting violently and aggressively, trying to force his way inside the house, even though they had secured the windows, doors, and even the main door with a barrier. They had to protect themselves as the situation quickly escalated. They armed themselves with whatever they could find, including kitchen knives and baseball bats, to defend themselves and their home. They engaged in a furious struggle. Elvis was able to enter the house despite their efforts, but they were able to stop him and contact the police. When the cops arrived, they discovered Elvis incapacitated from the fight and lying on the ground. For his crimes, he was detained and placed under arrest. Although the incident left Kelly and her loved ones shaken, they knew they were lucky. They had been able to protect themselves and avoid a possible tragedy. When Katie Coe matched with a man on Hinge, she was shocked to receive a jaw-dropping text from him, but she should be commended for what she did after. So Katie Coe, an assistant at a UK magazine, and Freddie were texting when Freddie admitted that he had uploaded Katie's photo to the website Pretty Scale to determine whether or not she was pretty. Using a scale of 1 to 100, the controversial online test for face beauty analysis website determines if your face is ugly or pretty. In a string of texts that Katie posted on Twitter, Freddie wrote, "Not gonna lie, I put a couple of your selfies through that Pretty Scale website to check if you're actually attractive." Then things got worse. "Your score was decent, but apparently your forehead is too big, lol," he texted. "So do you want to go out next week?" "Why would he even admit to using the website to judge my attractiveness?" Katie questioned Freddie. "Why did you do that? And then tell me about it." "Weird," she replied. His answer becomes even more unbelievable. He wrote, "I do it for everyone I consider dating, simply to make sure they're scientifically attractive and I'm not just confused. You seem fine, as I mentioned, so how about next week?" Freddie responded to Katie's obviously refused invitation with, "Sorry, I didn't want to offend. Although I believe you're cute, I want to be certain." So when Katie ran Freddie's profile picture through the same website, the outcome was less than stellar, and she had the last laugh. "You're really unattractive," it said in a screenshot of the verdict that was shared. "You're not that ugly, are you?" Katie texted, "I just run a photo of you through that website, and I'm afraid it's gonna be affirmed now. Bye." It gave Freddie a little ego bruise, and he retorted, "Thank you. I'm not ugly. You're a loss." Let me know in the comments if you tried dating apps and what was your experience.